There's a captivating quote by Jules Renard that I want to start with, and it goes like this. If I had my life to live over again, I would ask that not a thing be changed, but that my eyes be open wider. If I had my life to live over again, I would ask that not a thing be changed, but that my eyes be open wider. So I'd like to change this quote a little bit to, if I had my life to live over again, I would ask that not a thing be changed, but that my heart be open wider. So this morning, I want to talk about love and to shift from romantic love and attached love and the I love ice cream kind of love to the bigger kind of love of the Brahma Viharas, which are different species of love, 4 different species, different flavors of the word love. So our lives are just too much without love. Without love, life holds so much pain. Life holds dukkha. Life outside holds dukkha, and life inside holds dukkha. And the heart qualities are always relevant. They're relevant for us at births, and they're relevant at death. And we need to reclaim the meaning of this word love. It points us to a feeling, but it's more than a feeling. It's also a way of being in the world and letting our hearts be soft. We need love because in a loveless world, horrors can and do happen. So now think for a moment, where does your mind land when you're not focused on something particular? Where does your mind settle? So is your habit of planning take over or grasping? Or maybe some worry, or maybe it collapses into depression. What's your habit of mind? The Buddha taught us to train our minds so that its resting place is love. And there are 4 different Brahma Viharas for our minds to rest in. Divine abodes, places to rest, Brahma Viharas. We practice them not because it makes us better people. It's just that it makes our lives sweet. And we're lucky when we're loving. So metta is love meeting goodness. Karuna or compassion is love meeting pain, which is easy with someone else. But it takes some time of remembering to meet our own pain with love, our own suffering with love. So compassion is not desperation for pain to go away. That's what happens when we're not grounded in ourselves. And it can happen, and it frequently does, with ourselves and with relationships with spouses and with children. So mudita is the love which is joy for others' happinesses. So children laughing makes your heart happy. And the 4th Brahma Vihara is upekkha in Pali. And upekkha knows love in the face of the inescapability of suffering. Upekkha knows that dukkha is woven into the fabric of our existence. We need to practice loving kindness for our lifetime, because sometimes our hearts are open and sometimes not. So we practice. Love is a cure for loneliness. It's a cure for shame and for sorrow. Love is actually very close to sorrow and grief. And we love other people more the more we know ourselves deeply. When we know the pain of our own fears and judgments, we hold others more in love. And we learn to accept our flaws. We learn that we're not different than any other people. Other people behave badly. Other people are narrow-minded. Other people have flaws. We have flaws. We behave poorly. And we are narrow-minded. I know many kind, gentle, and loving people who do not see that hating something political is hatred. It's the same hatred. And any form of ego is a kind of a separation. And in loving, there's no separation. We're the same. So please don't judge yourself if you do. Love your humanness. And every one of us longs to be seen deeply without judgment through and through, and to connect and rest in another being so deeply, just so we can rest that deeply in ourselves. And we all talk to ourselves more than we'll talk to any other person in our lives. And our words aren't always kind or even true or helpful or even respectful. So it's really good to learn to pay attention, close attention to the voices in your head, so you can find a better way to communicate with yourself. The development of the Brahmaviharas is the practice of cultivating qualities of the heart that you can abide in, returning to our hearts, returning home. And we feel cut off in our hearts from love. When we do, we feel incomplete and lonely, and there's this hunger. What the hunger really is the hunger to come home, to be at peace, to be feeling our oneness in the universe with our hearts open. So loving kindness is not something you reward yourself for some accomplishment. It's beyond any question of deserving or not deserving. And it has nothing to do with reason. We're actually stepping out of the paradigm of measuring the self, and we step into the reverence of the fragility and the preciousness of all life. So metta is love without exception, without wanting, without expectation, and it's softening the heart. And it's purifying the impulse to control. So we've heard that Mother Teresa said there are more people dying for love in the world than there are for a piece of bread. And there's a lot of people dying of hunger. So the essence of mindfulness is turning toward experience. But mindfulness is not enough. We need metta to intentionally incline the mind to goodness and joy. Mindfulness just shines the light, and metta softens the heart, and creates a safe space. It means deep connection and kindness to ourselves, to our own weirdness, to our own quirkiness, to our own loveliness. And Ajahn Brahmin in Australia, the monk, he calls metta the practice of kindfulness. And we're always practicing something. We're always cultivating and strengthening some habit of mind or some neural pathway in our brain. Practice metta. Metta balances our negativity biases and our tendencies to find faults. It's also a purification practice. And being a purification practice, it pulls undigested pain to the surface. It's a training and it's cultivating the capacity to choose friendliness. It inclines the mind to goodwill. And it's helpful for dealing with stress in our lives. So when we do this practice of metta, it's watering the seeds of our garden. It's developing an intention. It's making a profound commitment to a way of being in the world. We're training the heart and purifying the heart and shifting a focus, excuse me, to a way that makes the heart happy. And it's dedicated to uprooting ill will. Metta can also be defined as non-ill will, which is nice because it doesn't set the bar so high. Or as Joseph Goldstein, my first teacher, used to quote W.H. Auden saying, "Love your crooked neighbor with all your crooked heart." So at the core of the Buddhist teaching is the awakened heart. And the Buddha said all of our training is for the development of love and compassion. And Hafiz said all a sane person can ever care about is love. There was someone who had been in practice for 20 years in this practice before he was introduced to metta and the Brahmaviharas. And it said, he said that it felt like he'd been standing in the sun for 20 years, but he had never felt its warmth. Metta is feeling the warmth, and it's waiting for us to discover it or even remember it. It's no small thing that we're doing. When we do metta practice on the relative level, just saying the phrases, it points us to the absolute unconditional love that is who we all are and all that there is. It's the finger that points us to the moon. And at some point, the leap to the moon happens. So love your own sacred body, your soul and self. Love somebody else. Love God, or a reasonable facsimile. Love your family and friends. Love music. Love sunshine. Love rain. Love pain. Love sadness. Love beauty. Love the light inside the darkness. Love everything that has been, everything that is, and everything that will be. And then go to the place where the word love is meaningless, because You are one with it. Thank you for your presence this morning. Feel free to unmute yourself and speak to your Sangha.